Hey Samantha, I've looked over your lesson plans and here's some feedback. I love the amount of scripting that you're doing in here so that I can see the kinds of questions that you want to ask your students, how you're going to ask those questions. It's very clear to me, that you're guiding them towards something. And so your question asking strategies are really advanced. I like that. And I don't say that lightly. I think that is a learned skill. It's so easy, especially for language arts teachers, to just kind of hop, skip, and jump across, the Grand Canyon with three questions. And so you've got some really powerful knowledge that you're demonstrating to me in here. One of the things that I'm going to, I'll start walking you through the lesson plans here, and then I want to show you are areas where we need to insert a lot more very explicit, very direct writing instruction, so that it moves from this being a conversation and a debate to a well thought through writing assignment where kids are really learning about the writing skills that they need to be developing. Okay, so oops, let me just start at the top. Okay, so thank you for filling this all out. This is very good. Even though this is a 10th grade English class, I don't know that it's legitimate for you to put in prior content knowledge that students know how to put together a paragraph or a short essay. All students get the concept of a paragraph in a short essay by 10th grade, if they've made it that far, but getting them to the level of a proficient or advanced paragraph or short essay for a 10th grader takes a lot of explicit instruction. So let me show you where I'd like you to insert that, all right? Okay, your desired results section is all nicely aligned. I can see that you've clearly chosen evidence outcomes that fit clearly with what it is that you're doing. In this one right here. This evidence outcome, however, I didn't really see that addressed because developing an effective appeal means that I know some of the different rhetorical strategies and appeals and that I'm choosing them with purpose. So that requires actual scaffolded teaching in there, okay? Your essential question global is good because it is a question that people ask across time and space and content areas. And then your essential question for the content area is also well done because it's very specific to language arts, all right? Although I don't see a lot of instruction around how does one format an argument. And I saw you getting them towards the idea of an argument, but not this notion of formatting, okay? Your students will understand and your students will be able to are well aligned such that the students are thinking about two sides of an argument and brainstorming about two sides of an argument so that, there's one big concept that students are working towards, both thinking and doing, okay? There is one thing that I want you to add to this side, all right? You need a by clause. So students will be able to brainstorm ideas that will be used in an argument of paper and debate at the end of the unit by creating a compare contrast chart or a T chart or something like that. So you need to have a by clause in there because our students will be able to. Needs to be something tangible, something measurable. So always need a by clause in there, okay? All right. Assessments are well thought through, so you're going to be listening to the students and assessing where they're at throughout the discussion. And then clearly they'll be turning in this list of positive and negatives for a summative assessment to demonstrate their learning to you. So that's well done. All right. So learning activities, like I said, I really appreciated this kind of differentiation and modification. That's well done because, some students think fast on their feet and some students need processing time. And so seeing that you're thinking about this really shows me that you're thinking about some students and some of their particular needs. Okay. All right. So I love your questioning strategy. I think that it's well scaffolded. I like the fact that you start actually talking about the text and then you move them into opinions. That's nicely done. I also love the fact that you brought up specific moments in the text that you were, wanted to draw their attention to. That's very well done too. One of the things that I probably would have done, maybe not right up front, but somewhere in here, right? Okay, so you've got, right, okay, we read, we reread, we see some things, and why is that? Because because where it is right here, okay? When I read again, I notice things that I didn't notice before. They impact me in a way that they didn't impact me before. And that's something about, that what you've done there is touched upon this idea of what a complex piece of literature is. It's complex because it has many layers to it. So I think this would be the right moment here to tell your students that, okay, this is really complex text. It brings up some big ideas, that this author's asking us to question, and as such, we're going to be having an in-class debate about these ideas. Okay, don't you don't want to overburden the students. Like, everyone come in, sit down, shut up, we're writing a paper. Okay, but you also don't want to withhold that information from them for so long that they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Here's this lady in front of me. She's asking me all these questions. Do I feel like answering? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, there's a purpose for all of these questions? Okay, it's probably a good idea that I participate and answer. See how that thinking can go? So I would introduce, since you introduced the notion of complex literature here, I would introduce the idea that you'll be doing an in-class debate. And as such, we're going to be talking about different styles of government, things being government sanctioned, activities being government sanctioned, different things like that. And then as you get through into their dystopia and utopia, right, you can say, so part of our in-class debate is going to be considering the difference between these two words, and see how that's going to cue kids in, like, sit up, pay attention, like, we're headed somewhere with this information, And then as you have them make their lists, you tell them, so this is really a brainstorming strategy, a pre-writing strategy that I want you guys to engage in so we can get ready for our debates. This isn't just something that I'm randomly asking you to do out of nowhere. It's got purpose, okay? So then when we move on to your second lesson plan here, whoops, sorry, let me scroll back up. Okay. So again, I'm going to ask you to redo, to move this into new content knowledge here. I feel, again, you've done a good job at choosing this evidence outcome. Whoops, sorry. But I am going to ask you to do some more explicit instruction here. Okay. The rest of your section is well aligned here. I am going to ask you to do a by clause here again. Okay. And then this formative assessment for the writing exercise. So you're going to turn this into a formative assessment where you're not only looking at the students' content and ideas, but you're also looking at the students' writing. Okay, so getting into the learning plan of your second one, right here, so very nice opening. I like that. Get the kids involved right away. And one other thing, I really love your shared talk time, that you're doing some talking and the kids are doing some talking. And I really think that that's wonderful. You'd be surprised how many teachers don't do that, okay? So I'm with you all the way up through here. Where am I looking for? There, right here, okay? So you want the students to do some writing, and you want them to write 1 to 2 paragraphs arguing why the government and the giver is better, and then 1 to 2 paragraphs why the U.S. government is better. Right here, okay? You're going to stop and you're going to do direct instruction on argumentative writing and paragraph structure, okay? Now, that being said, we will get around to our argumentative writing loop, and so you may choose to not revise this lesson plan until later, when you have some of those strategies under your belt. But bare minimum, you need to do a review of well-structured, well-written paragraphs. And that explicit instruction needs to happen, because otherwise what tends to happen is that the students have so many ideas, and the ideas just run amok all over their paper, and they don't flow well together. If I'm not asking them how does sentence 1 relate to sentence 2, how does sentence 3 relate to sentence 2, etc., and I'm not giving that kind of explicit instruction, they can really end up struggling. So I want explicit writing instruction in there, okay? And I know you missed the first couple weeks of class, and that's probably, I'm going to guess, I don't know you that well. I know I would be real stressed if I was a student. Samantha, come in and chat with me. I don't mind at all. If I need to give you some extra stuff to look at, or just you want to chat about some ideas, let's do that so that you feel like you can be really successful in this stuff. I don't mind that at all, okay? All right, let's look at your third lesson plan then. So your third lesson plan essentially is just a bunch of instructions to do an activity, the in-class debate, all right? And so I want this one heavily revised because what I want here is this to be a revision lesson plan, okay? Hold on one sec. I'm going to pop back to the bottom of 2. Because you have students read yours, read your partners, that kind of a thing, and then write a 5-paragraph paper, you're going to have to talk to them about inserting, like explicit instruction on inserting refutation into their papers now that they have this. All right. And so that when you get to, here we go, when you get to lesson plan 3, pardon me, they are revising their writing before they get on to their debate, okay? And they are looking at their purposeful insertion of refutation, all right? So heavy revision on this third lesson plan, okay? I hope this stuff was helpful. This little talk will stay housed on YouTube for the entire semester. You can refer to it as often as you need, and just plan to schedule some time and come in and chat with me about some ideas, how you're doing, how you're feeling. Okay, thanks.